But let's look at this. Albert Sori's latest Hotline documentary details how girls between the ages of 12 and 17 years are sort of abducted into marriage. And we are trying as much as possible to speak to the executive director of Child Rights International. And Bright Apia will be joining us very soon. We'll try as much as possible to get his views on the subject of child brides and how it is that somehow we tend to force young girls into early marriages. It will all be up next.
According to the 1992 Constitution, the legal age for consent to sexual intercourse in Ghana is 16, and the legal age for marriage is 18. All the girls interviewed for this documentary were married off or became pregnant when they were still minors. This state of affairs will only fester because in this part of Ghana, child marriage seems to be a norm. It is largely spawned by the high incidence of poverty here in Kolgo and Naga. Headmaster of the Naga Primary School, Jonathan Azibayele, has been here for 3 years now and shares his observations of the trend.
Forced marriages, in other words, marriage by elopement, is a very serious case in this village, not only my school. Girls got married at the age of some 13, 14, 15 and 16. We've never recorded a marriage of even 18 years. All the marriage cases are below the age of 18.
How long have you been headmaster in this school? And how many examples of cases of children who were in school that got married did you see within this period?
I am in my 3rd year.
Okay.
And since then up to now, I have about 9 cases of child marriages.
And you were forced to make a report to your superiors. Tell us about that.
Yes, I have no other ways than to make a report to my director and then that of girl child education. So when I wrote that letter, I forwarded it to my security supervisor. He endorsed and then told me that I should go and give it to my director. So I went and then they said I should give it to a girl child. So I did that. So I even copied the chief of this village. I also copy the assemblyman of Naga. But it's like it was only the girl child that gave a threat to one marriage.
The 9 cases of child marriages Mr. Azibayele witnessed involved girls at the Naga Primary School alone over the 3 years that he has been head of the school. At the Naga Junior High School, where we met Christy, Amina and Becky, Hotline discovered that there had been 12 cases of child marriages and pregnancies in that school alone within 2 years. Jonathan Azibayele says reducing poverty could help address this situation.
This is a village. When a boy promises a girl of a fool, she's easily lured. So one of the things is just the mobile phones. Even I've been seizing phones in my school. So one thing is the mobile phones. As I'm talking, if you get to the junior high, where there are matured girls, I just got in touch with him. He said he had 11 cases for only last academic year. That was 2015.
These were girls who were still in junior high school.
Yes, yeah, in junior high
who married
school.
And left the school.
Yes, they married and left. Anytime they are going to write the BEC, either 4 or 5 girls will go and say they be pregnant. So for other schools, the case is even worse.
The Upper East region is said to be the 2nd poorest region in Ghana according to the Safe Ghana Living Standards Survey. For rural areas like Kolgo and Naga where these girls live, poverty is high and a girl's bride price, if paid, could be a fortune for some families here. On the other hand, if a girl is impregnated, her family would rather let her be a burden on the family of the man who got her pregnant instead of keeping her at home. So they would marry her off without thinking twice about the implications on the girl. All these come down to the same reason: poverty.
And it's some 33 minutes after 8. We just got back from Albert Sori's documentary, which played fully yesterday at 6:30 p.m. If you watched it, I'm sure there's so many things that you're telling yourself or you've been telling yourself. Dr. James Clayman is an obstetrician and gynecologist with the LECMA Hospital. He joins us via phone. On the back of that story, we want to look at the effects of early marriages on these young children or young people, if you like, and how do we even begin to integrate them back into the society. Dr. Clayman, good morning to you. We are grateful for your time.
Good morning.
And I'm sure that this will not be the first tender brides that you've heard about. I'm sure you've been involved in other cases about young girls who've gone into marriage at a very early age. Can you just run us through the effects on these girls when they get into marriage at a very early age?
Yeah, generally it has a detrimental effect on these girls. First, we talk about complications from the pregnancies. You know that these girls, their pelvics are not yet developed. They are prone to getting serious tears and fistula, which is leakage of urine after their delivery. Then also, most of these girls, you know, especially we know that childbirth leading to death occurs very high in these girls between the ages of 15 and 19. It is the main cause of death for them in this our country. And then the infants born to these teenage girls have a high risk of stillbirth. That is, the children they give birth to most will be dead already, or they die just after delivery. And they are also likely to have babies whose weights are very low. That is, low birth weight babies, who in later life have various complications, both physical and cognitive or intelligence aspects of it. You know, and generally we know that this pregnancy, teenage pregnancy, undermines their development. It virtually stops them from growth and negatively affects their nutritional status, which really affects them. And it denies these girls of childhood, disrupt their education, limit their ability to even participate in economic and social sphere virtually, till they are virtually incapacitated. And they are at a higher risk of social isolation. That is, they are virtually dropped out of the system. They are like semi-prisoners in virtually their houses. And that is where also it brews domestic violence, partner abuse. Because most times these girls are virtually far younger than the men, and they treat them as if they are their babies or their children. So you have domestic violence being higher in such pregnancies. And they are also at risk of HIV/AIDS and sexually transmitted diseases because they can't stand the partners. You know, the partners can go around, get themselves infected and come and give to them, and they have no right. They can't even say that they want to use contraceptives or something to protect themselves. So they are at a high risk of contracting sexually transmitted disease and HIV. And it really worsens the gender inequalities. They virtually have no right in the family. So it has really a high detrimental effect on these girls when they go into this child marriage.
Dr. Clayman, how do we even, because in this documentary that my colleague Albert Sori produced, some of these girls have been rescued. When you rescue them, what else do you do?
Definitely, if you rescue them, I think those who are capable of continuing their education, who want to continue their education, you should assist them to continue their education. I remember I had a girl who, after, SSS got herself pregnant. Virtually, people thought that this girl was down and out. But I was able to, with some organization, after she had delivered, she was able to attend K-Bars and even do did clinical psychology and got a second class upper. So the thing is that I don't think that when they rescue them, that it should be automatically something. If they are prepared to continue their education, they should be helped. Then also, if they are not prepared, then they should be given some skills that they can, live with. They are not to just be left like that because they've been rescued. You have to make their situation so that they cannot be coerced into another marriage, because if they are poor, they can easily be coerced into another relationship. That is what I think.
But psychologically, are they ever, have they ever forgotten the experience that they had, with these elderly people?
That one, it goes throughout their life, because virtually you can say that their first sex was either coerced or it was a rape, indirect, it was a rape because they were not prepared for it. And such situations sinks into the fabric of their conscience, and it goes throughout their life. I think that at a point in time, even they might need constant clinical psychology, counseling, and other things. I remember a woman came to me at 54 years, and I was just saying something. She started crying. I wondered why she was crying. Then later on, she told me that the first person who, unfortunately, he said that the first person, the man who raped her, first when she was 12 years, his voice was like mine. Can you imagine? And he started crying. It means that even at 54 years, the first experience, he is still bearing it. So such people, it goes throughout their lives, and they need that support, clinical, counseling, and psychiatrists and other support. It goes out. It's very difficult for them to totally forget it. It's very difficult,
We've heard about stories where people, because of the experiences that they've had in the past, they go into marriages and they can't be normal. Some people even promise themselves that they're not going to marry any longer. How do you get such people to forget about I don't know if forget is possible, but how do you get them to move on with that kind of mindset?
As I'm saying, there should be a form of some networking and counseling of these people, whether in their church or in their wherever they are, any organization they are in. They need that constant counseling. That is what I think will take them out. As for forgetting, I don't think they will absolutely forget. They just need the counseling support to take them through. And, even in their marriage also, the man needs to be, later on if they marry, when they are old, if they marry, the man needs to be also counseled. I remember I had a case where it's like any time the man wants to have an affair with the wife, you receive some slap from the woman because he has a flashback on when she was young and when she was raped. So it was later on that I referred such a case to a clinical psychologist, and they had a counseling, and at a point in time, those stripes stopped. So I think that constant counseling should be there.
Okay. All right, Dr. James Clayman, we're grateful for your time and for your thoughts, really, this morning. Dr. James Clayman is an obstetrician and gynecologist with the Lekma Hospital, and his thoughts really coming from this documentary produced by Albert Sori, Tender Brides. We're going to be joined pretty shortly by Awal Ahmed. He's the Executive Director, Rural Initiatives for Self-Empowerment. The NGO is helping to reinduct these girls into the society. And as and when we do get him, we're going to raise him via Skype and have a conversation with him. But it's a very special day today, 14th of February is Val's Day. But you're not too well, Mr. Francis Mensah from Ampoma Estates. It's a speedy recovery going out to you from Mr. Samuel Kwadesing here at Multi TV. So Mr. Francis Mensah from Ampoma Estates, we're wishing you a very speedy recovery. And Mrs. Jimaima Kwadesing, I understand you're always watching us, so we're grateful. Happy Val's Day today. Also from Mr. Ernest Annan here at Multi TV, wishing you, Auntie Maud Lamte, a happy birthday. May God richly bless you. Auntie Maud, you're special because your birthday falls on Val's Day. So happy birthday to you, Auntie Maud Lamte. Enjoy your birthday. today. Now we can go on and speak to Mr. Awal Ahmed. He's the Executive Director, Rural Initiatives for Self-Empowerment. Mr. Awal, good morning to you. Thank you for all the good works that you've been doing, really.
Good morning, Mama, and thank you for the compliment.
Yeah, sure. First of all, can we talk about the kind of help that you even gave our colleague Albert Sori in getting the story out?
Yeah, well, I think that if there's anybody who has given anybody help, it's Albert Sori and the multimedia that has given us the opportunity to get the world to know what our young children are going through. So I think it was a good collaboration with Albert Sori in that his commitment to the story, the commitment to bring about the difference in the lives of himself was outstanding. But I must first of all say that good morning to your wonderful viewers, your management for the opportunity.
So I just spoke to a gynecologist, Mr. Clayman, Mr. James Clayman, who's an obstetrician and gynecologist at LECMA. And he outlines very interesting things. I wonder what your NGO is taking these girls through after this rescue.
Yes, I think that there are a lot of things that beyond just rescuing the girls, there are a lot of trauma they go through that we need to initiate processes to be able to give them the necessary change of paradigm so that whatever has happened to them, they can get over it and move on in life. So to that accord, there is a need for a multifaceted approach. You know that as an NGO, there are certain things that you can do, but there are certain things that are clearly the work of professionals. Talking about giving them the necessary counseling they need, a clinical psychologist is very importantly needed in that respect. Unfortunately, in most parts of the rural areas, access to these technical people is a challenge. So what possibly can be done is to see how processes can be initiated to link them some of these services so that the post-trauma that stress that may come, they may be able to contain it in a way that will not have a sterling effect or any effect on their future growing up, because these are still children and their mental faculties are not as developed as those of adults. Even adults sometimes have these challenges, we are not able to cope. How much more children? Going forward, there is a need to create that system whereby they can have the support to be able to recover fully and clean up.
Sure. So let's get something cleared up. How many girls have you rescued so far?
So far, for this documentary, these girls are 6 in number. But so far, the organization with this work, actually, I must admit that this work was a project that was initiated by the Canada Fund for Local Initiatives, 2016. And within the space of 2016 alone, in that district alone, 9 girls were rescued out of the practice of child marriage.
Okay.
That is just one district alone. There are other districts that we have operated this project. So in total, we are talking about 15 girls within the period of 1 year. And this is where we have child protection teams. We have trained some community volunteers to serve as child protection teams. So when they see these instances, they support the community, to report to the teachers, to report to the police. But these are only in a few communities. There are communities in the Upper East region that these child protection teams are not existing. So cases are not reported from those places because nobody is there to support the reporting of these cases. And we are in a system where everybody knows somebody. We are all connected in one way or the other. So when there is an issue of abuse or violence against children, the incentive to even report is not there, because we feel that you are either reporting your uncle or you are reporting a very powerful person in the community. So beyond that, you may not be able to withstand. For instance, there are instances where people have stood up for their rights, challenge the status quo, and then the system doesn't tend to support. For instance, the man in the documentary who mentioned that they have to pay some money. Some of them do not have 6 Ghana cedis in a year. They cannot earn. This was a man asked to pay 100 cedis to get a vehicle to process a criminal issue that the state could have taken care of. So that's the challenge. And beyond that, people have a lot of influence. You don't have farmland, you may be a settler in a particular community, and you decide to pick up an issue, and then there's a lot of pressure on you. You are asked to leave the land. The mother of Alice is a widow. She has no other place to go. Instead of the community receiving her as one of them, you only have some support from the household is willing to support. But like you indicated, he can only support her to a certain extent. There could be a pressure from above that is more than him to be able to let her get the convenient environment to stay. So those are the challenges that are there.
So, but irrespective of the challenges, do you still send the girls back where they came from?
Yes, what we do is we have identified some women who have achieved in life and who have some experience related to those of the girls. So what we do is we arrange for them to mentor them, talk to them, encourage them that this is not all. We cite examples of these women. We provide opportunity for them to interact with them so that they will know that I have made a mistake, but it doesn't mean that it's the end of life for me. I can still go back to school. I can still get the best out of my education. It's never too late. When you are engaged in child marriage and you find that all is enough, you want to come back, you will be able to have the opportunity. And we show them examples of people who have done this. But beyond that, we must go forward to how possibly we can create a system where people will have safe training. For instance, some of the girls have admitted that they don't feel that school is for them. They do not want to engage in the process of formal education. So for the girl selling kulikuli and katikik in the documentary, if there was an opportunity for her to learn some skills training, she wouldn't have gotten married. So it's not just only those who are in formal education. There are some who have, even though it's good to say also that as a child, you might not be making an informed decision. The decision might not be in the best interest of herself as in the future. But going forward, if those systems were there, she would have been able to have a place to go, and then that will prevent her from getting married. Another point is the fact that our schools are not safe and friendly for the girls. When our sisters reach the age of puberty, they tend to seek privacy. They are menstruating. They need a private place to be able to change themselves. But the schools do not have toilet facilities. The schools do not have water facilities. So these girls tend to drop out during this crucial period of their life. And all those exposes them to one form of the rape. Because the school, actually, when you ask students, is one of the safest places they have in their community. So a day out of school alone is a serious exposure to rape.
Wow. I'm not sure that we can end this conversation. This is a conversation that must continue. We're interested in knowing how the girls would eventually turn out. So even though we're ending this conversation with you, Ms. Ahmed, right now, we will be catching up with you to see what's happened to these young girls. But we're grateful for all the works that you do, really.
We are very grateful for your opportunity to talk.
I
must end on this note that parents must try as much as possible to take their girls, especially very early. Kindergarten starts at age 4, so let's enroll the girls so that by the time they will be developing certain feminine features, they would have advanced in their education, they would have been taught the necessary way to protect themselves, and this can reduce the burden, and this doesn't require money.
Sure. Mr. Awal Ahmed, we're grateful. Thank you very much. And he's Executive Director of Rural Initiatives for Self-Empowerment, speaking to us on this documentary, Tender Bright. We've got